most people don't realise that WorldSkills has been going now for 60 years. It was started by a small group of European countries led by the Spanish, with the UK as a part of that initial team. In 1953, 52, 53 was the formation time. And it has become a hallmark. Now 50 countries, and if all has gone according to plan at the WorldSkills General Assembly in Jamaica, China has declared and been accepted as the most recent member of WorldSkills, and China will be strutting its stuff here next year, and that is going to be a force to be reckoned with. So, all in all, a fantastic event, and we are here today to recognise that we've got a year to go, to celebrate the achievement of skills from young people across London and the South East that have participated and experienced the event downstairs in Skills London, and also to get into some serious discussion about why skills matter for the UK. So before I introduce our panel, however, there is a formality that it is actually my great pleasure to go through, because WorldSkills and the event next year and the preparation of our team and Skills London and everyone associated with it is hugely dependent on sponsors. I mean, hugely and totally dependent on sponsors producing almost 44 million quid for the event. So we take our sponsors very seriously. Can I therefore thank all of the sponsors that are on board so far? That's City and Guilds, Honda, Learn Direct, Air Products, Capital Crispin Veneers, Carolina, CNC Software, Festo, Heidelberg, IDM Computer Solutions, Lincoln Electric, Synapse, Stone Firms, Troika, and all the rest that are yet to join them for the support today, because this project is really dependent on them and we're really grateful to them. You'll see many of their names here, many of them are in the audience, so I think a quick round of applause to say thank you very much. Okay, now we have a star-studded cast on the stage here, who are willing to take all of your questions. I'm just going to briefly introduce them. Andy Palmer, Head of Skills at British Telecom, also works for my boss, Mike Rake, at BT, a company very committed to skills and particularly to apprenticeship programs, which is very proud of. Our very own Adam Pearson, star of the WorldSkills stage, previous WorldSkills competitor and chef at Claridge's, who also supported us at our bid in 2006, because he and his boss came and cooked breakfast, lunch and dinner for us almost every day that we were out there. So a real star for Adam. Alison Birkinshaw, one of the most important groups of people in this country, because she's a college principal. And in the skills agenda, they are really potentially the most important economic development tool this country has available to them. So thank you very much. Our chairman, Theo Paphitis, who will introduce himself and say a few words, but as chair of Ryman's and entrepreneur extraordinaire, will start the event and chair the event for us. Aidan Jones, Executive Director of WorldSkills London 2011. If the event doesn't work next year, it's not my problem. I'm only the chairman, okay?
No pressure there.
No pressure, no pressure. Nick Bradley, Group Marketing Director of City and Guilds, and of course, in that sense, representing WorldSkills London 2011 Premier Sponsor. So Nick, thank you very much. And last and absolutely not least, Jeff Russell, Chief Executive of the Skills Funding Agency, and the man that holds the purse strings. So no pressure there either, Jeff. Theo, can I hand over to you? The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and welcome today. The first thing I'm going to do, of course, is request that we take our jackets off, because if you're like me, it is baking. So, gentlemen, anybody who wants to derobe? Well, not literally, obviously, for any of you get any ideas. So, thank you all very much for coming and inviting me here today. So, why have you invited me? Obviously, there was nobody else available. But in the absence of that, one of my roles is as apprentice champion for Skills Smart Retail. And those of you that know me know that I'm very, very passionate about work-based learning and apprenticeships. As you all know, well, some of you will know, I left school with a Scottish certificate in colouring in maps, geography, the teacher was Scottish, and that was about the level of it. And I wasn't thick or stupid. Unfortunately, I suffer from something that a lot of people suffer from, dyslexia. I just wasn't diagnosed. No one actually diagnosed my dyslexia until I became a millionaire. Then I went from being thick to being dyslexic. It's amazing, that. But my children, unfortunately, inherited it from me, so I got to know loads and loads about it. So work-based learning, for me, became a must. I had to learn on the job. I didn't have the luxury to go to college or university. And a lot of people say, why are so many entrepreneurs dyslexic? Well, because no one will employ them. So they got to go out there and do it for themselves. They can't go to a higher education. They've got to learn on the job. And my particular organisation, Ryman, and we're passionate about it because a big slug of our stores are actually within the M25, central London, huge amount of stores. And we have a very transient workforce, as most retailers do. So we have a choice: give crap service, replace our staff regularly, pay fees to employment agencies, and I'm sorry if there's any here, to recruit new people, waste a fortune trying to teach them to their job, or actually try and retain them and try and raise their self-esteem, their skill sets, progress them, and by doing so, keep a workforce that's actually loyal, hard-working, and productivity-wise is way above the national average. And so actually, if you think about it, it's a real non-brainer, really. I mean, sometimes I ask myself why everybody doesn't do it. Luckily, there's a lot of people who work very hard behind the scenes and are helping us employers actually do and deliver exactly this. So without any further ado, I'm going to open the debate and ask for a question, and all my learned colleagues here and professionals will attempt to answer your questions. If we can't answer any, then we'll obviously take your name and address and never come back to you. And please, no sexual emotional questions, because I'm crap at them, and Aidan, you're probably rubbish at them as well, are you?
Yes, I am.
There you are. So we'll stick to the business. So we're going to have, I've got some questions that I've already been pre-prepared, and I'm going to call out your name. When I call out your name, please stand up, speak clearly, and ask us a question, and I'll try and direct it to the right person, and we might even give you an answer. If they're too boring, I'm going to open it to the floor and just ask you wild questions and see if we can get anybody to, let's say, entertain us with something that we weren't expecting. But the first question is from Nikki Taylor. Where's Nikki Taylor? Yeah, right, Nikki, go for it.
Yeah, how do we convince parents and teachers of the real benefit of vocational skills and training?
Whoa, Nick, do you want that one?
Yeah, I will. I'll definitely take that one. It's not without challenge, to put it bluntly. I think, as you see with what's happening at the moment, I think there's a huge change going on right now, particularly around university places. And when you start looking at the fact that people are going to university, doing certain courses, not coming out with employment, having huge debt, and then you counteract that with apprenticeship programs where you see that people can go into a company like Flybe, do a aircraft engineering course and come out as a 19-year-old with a salary of £31,000 a year with no debt. There's a huge change going on, which I think starts to bridge that gap between vocational learning and academia. But I don't think it's a quick fix. You're working on something which has been, I think, ingrained in this country particularly for some time, and it's going to take some of those big changes that are happening now to really make a difference.
And Alison, as an educationalist, what's your view?
I think we should actually turn the question on its head in a way. If we ask the question, how do we get parents and teachers to value A-levels, it would be, well, they value them because they progress to higher education, largely. So how do we get parents and teachers to value vocational qualifications? Well, we talk about where students progress to, we celebrate success, we get government to stop talking down vocational qualifications, we stop messing about with vocational qualifications and we get them right, and if they work, we leave them working, and we take every opportunity to give case studies, role models, and celebrate what's going on. VQ Day is a really good example of initiatives that have taken off, but there's lots and lots of good practice out there that really engage, and York is a fantastic example of that, where A-level recruitment has actually started to decline and vocational recruitment has blossomed because parents are starting to understand that vocational qualifications are fantastic and have real success stories behind them.
Excellent. Nikki, I hope you're happy with that answer. We'll then move along to Daniel Tadman even. Where are you?
Right, hello. I'm here today with a company called Burning to Learn.
Okay,
right?
you got the advert in.
Right, okay. Burning to Learn is all about driving students towards the right attitude, right? Okay. So I would like to ask the panel, what personal skills are vital for a new employee today and why?
Whoa, Andy, you're an employer. What do you look for?
Well, the first thing we're looking for from young people who are joining the organisation, it's not about a skill that's relevant today. It's about their ability to assimilate knowledge and put that knowledge into practice in the workplace, regardless of the job they're going to be doing in the future. Because the job they're doing today won't exist, certainly at BT, in 5 or 10 years' time. So we need people who have got the ability to take knowledge, assimilate knowledge, and put it into practice in the workplace. And then over and above that, we're looking for people who can communicate with a customer, who understand time management, who understand how to run projects, etc. But the key thing is that ability to assimilate knowledge and then put it into practice.
Happy with that?
Thank you very much.
Excellent. And just for my part, is really when we interview people, yes, we get CVs. And you know what? I've actually taken on people when I've seen the CVs originally and I've thought, not sure. And I've had CVs where people got far more qualifications. And I've ended up, once interviewing somebody, taking the one with possibly the least of the qualifications. Not for any other reason other than I could see they would fit into my organisation. They had the right attitude. You know, they were listening. Their skill set was more appropriate for my business. So I think that's so important when you're actually putting together a CV, and that's something I'm trying to keep telling people, is try and put as much of your character forward, not just how many A-levels, how many O-levels you got. So before we go to another question from the floor, we do have a question from overseas, from our schools forum.
Yes, the questions, it's always dangerous putting me in charge of technology, but I think I'm getting the questions coming through here. They're coming from the Youth Forum in Jamaica. This is not a made-up, it's live in that respect. I'm in danger of asking a question I'll have to answer myself, but anyway, we'll have a go. This is the question from Jamaica. We constantly hear about the legacy of the Olympics. How do we ensure that our skill Olympians, in inverted commas, are also recognised?
Wow. So, who on this table wants to take that one?
Well, I think I have to have a first go at it, because it's around what will happen next year here in London. It's not just around that, but that's obviously one of the platforms which is really important. And I think it reflects a little bit why we're all here today with all of you people, because we have a very clear view as World Skills London 2011, the organising team, that we need to engage with a whole range of partners to help get the message out. We need to tell the story of the 1,000 competitors that will be with us next year. We need to tell the story both for the people who come and visit the event, but also for the people who can't visit the event. And through our media, through our internet connections, through our web serving, we need to tell that story. So I think what I'm doing to a certain extent is throwing it back on you in saying you're part of the solution to that question, which is about telling this good news story about the importance of skills and the importance of excellence in skills.
Thank you. Well, I hope the chaps in Jamaica enjoyed that, and I'm sure we'll get more questions from them. I'm going to go back to the floor, and Mary Vine Morris is somewhere right in front of us.
Thank you. I'm Mary Vine Morris from London Councils. I'm just asking a question about what the panel considers to be the ways that we can enable young people, particularly given the current environment, to achieve their aspirations into the future. They're going to be the young people who are hopefully going to be keeping us in our dotage. They've got aspirations both for work and for their involvement in society. I'd just be interested in your views on that.
Well, my view, first of all, I'm going to say that, is to encourage them. Give them the tools to do it and let them start believing that they can do it. And, you know, the biggest problem that we possibly could have with everything that's going on at the moment is the social demographics and the way people can move from one to the other. And it's becoming very difficult for them at the moment. And it'd be interesting to get the opinion of Jeff over there, who's actually one of the people that supplies money to people to encourage youngsters to actually achieve their aspirations. What's the view of the people actually writing the check?
Thanks. I think we've already touched a little bit on one of the issues, which is around ensuring the esteem that's attached to vocational learning. But actually, your question is really about learning more broadly. And I suspect Theo will know more about this than I do, but I think you really have to have as many possible channels to appeal to your customers as possible. And if you're academically inclined, great, A-levels, university. But actually, if you're vocationally inclined, if you don't like to sit in a classroom, then what this event is about and what we fund is an important route. And both are equally important. Both have the same esteem. And Theo is a perfect example of how you succeed. But there's a lot of different ways of succeeding. There's a lot of people in this room who achieved things through a variety of different routes. I think you have to find routes that appeal to your customers.
But doesn't social mobility and the belief that social mobility is possible through education and through achievement and through work a key part of that? Because without that, it'll never happen.
No, I totally agree. And I'm a Canadian, but I've
we'll forgive you.
Yeah, thanks. I've observed, one of the interesting differences in culture between America and Europe is that in America, the starting assumption is that anyone can achieve anything. Whereas it's sort of a different culture here, which is, well, if you want to, be really successful, this is the route you have to do, and no one else really matters, to be blunt. The Americans just sort of assume anyone can achieve anything, and almost through any route. And I think we have to get that message across in terms of, for parents and students, to say there's a variety of different ways that you can be successful. You're right. We have to say there is nothing stopping you. You can achieve anything, but different routes appeal to different people. What we have to stop doing is saying, well, this is the route for the bright people and this is the route for the also-rans, because it just isn't like that, and there's the evidence.
And Jeff, of course, that all takes money. And at the end of the day, the more routes you have open costs a lot of money. Is that something that you believe will be made available?
There's undoubtedly going to be a very significant amount of money available. It just isn't going to be as much as there used to be. That's for the obvious reasons.
But can we still do the job?
That's going to depend on the further education sector, frankly, all education sectors in this country, probably doing some fairly radical restructuring, I think.
So it's a case of watch this space, I think, the answer to that particular question. And I think we all believe that social mobility is key, the ability for people to aspire to achieve. The minute you kill that, then we've all got major problems. And for my part, it's something that I hold dear to my heart, that anybody can do it. And people should start from that basis, irrespective of any handicaps they may have, social issues they may have, race, creed, religion, colour, sex. We've got to start passing that down the line to say, actually, even kids who probably gone through generations where the parents haven't actually worked, and we have got those kids even today, they've got to start believing that there is an outlet for them, there is something they can do. It's not just about academia. I think we've all sitting on this panel agree with that, and there's routes for them all to go to.
Even for Canadians.
I think they're doing very well over there, aren't they? Thank you. Right. I'm moving along. John Hyde. Where's John Hyde? There we go. What have you got to ask us?
Given the inevitable cuts in public spending and the high levels of youth unemployment, are you happy that you're not a 16-year-old or 18-year-old leaving school in 2010?
And are you asking that question specifically to anybody in the panel? Right, who wants to... well, I'll tell you what, Adam, you've been quiet there, and you're probably the youngest by, well, a few years anyway. So how would you feel? You must remember what it was like.
Almost. It seems a little while, even since I started getting involved with World Skills. I always had a really envisaged route, even from being 5. I was very good at playing 6, so I could go home and do cooking with my grandparents. So I was quite devious at a young age. So I knew how to get what I wanted and how to drive for that. I think it's probably quite an exciting time. I think there's going to be jobs out there that we don't know exist, and they're going to need much more the key skills that we've spoken about. As long as you can communicate and as long as you can drive and look at how to get somewhere, I think that's going to play a great part. I think as long as we can inspire and pave the way for them, I think that's going to be a good thing. I'm not sure I've answered that question as well as I could have, really. And if anyone else has anything to add.
I wouldn't mind jumping on that. I mean, we've spent, particularly over the last few months, we've been talking to two sort of different groups of 14 to 19. We've been focusing on 14 to 16-year-olds and then sort of 17 to 19, just to sort of ask that question, actually. What are you feeling about your future? How excited are you about what you're going to do next? What's the role of a career versus a job? How important is money? Those sort of questions. And what's fascinating is that as much as there's huge confusion and there's a lack of information, and when we ask how important are role models like your parents, there's a common theme coming back, which is, well, they're not that useful, actually. It's more my peer group. There's a huge amount of optimism saying that actually there's still options for me out there. They're just different options. And I want to be happy. I want to do something that keeps me motivated, etc. But I may not have a job for life, and I may be changing careers over the course of my life. So it's interesting. I think, to your question, what would I feel to be sort of 16 again? I think there's huge opportunity out there, and that seems to be reflected by the kids that we're speaking to.
Thank you. We're going to go back to our correspondents over in Jamaica, who are desperate to ask another question. So, Aidan?
Okay, we've got it actually relates to the last question, which is, what role does business play in creating opportunities for young people?
Right, well, I'm going to kick that up. I think it's key. I mean, business provides jobs. We're the guys that paint the pictures, create the dreams for kids. So we're the ones that are meant to inspire. And we have a social responsibility. I think we all accept that on this panel as employers. We all have a social responsibility. Of course, it's not all about us. Government has to help. Government has a responsibility. If you look how many people are actually employed in the public sector as opposed to the private sector now, it's a big number. Is it 25%? I think the last figure employed by private.
It's 5 million people.
Pardon?
Public sector.
Yeah, it's a big number. So government have just as important one, and as government really starts culling back that particular department, it is going to fall in the private sector, and that's why actually having vocational training, skills training within organisations, big organisations, is going to actually drive that particular issue. Andy?